A correspondent candid with CNN's Sanjay Gupta.
They say that a great 60-minute story takes you somewhere that you've never been before.
Right.
How was Avery Island different from any place you'd ever been before?
Avery Island was a place that literally is caught back in time. They say when you arrive on Avery Island, welcome to the island, now set your watch back 100 years. That's sort of the way they look at things, and you get that feel. When you drive in, you have this guy who's literally at a toll booth.
Hi, good morning.
How you doing?
It costs $1, but then you have to get the dollar to him.
You got a little stick. I like it. All right.
I got the impression they've been doing this for, 100 years, just that same thing.
Have a good day.
And when you drive on, it's untouched, it's beautiful. You see the wildlife, and you hear it. You can hear the sounds of all the critters. I remember that. I had my windows down and just listening, and it was, you felt like you were in the middle of a real, alive place. But then when you drive in, you start to get the feel of Tabasco being there. You see the signage for Tabasco. You see the warehouses start to crop up. And then ultimately you see this sort of gigantic footprint that is all dedicated to this.
This was Edmund McElhaney's original recipe, which he wrote down in the back of one of his account books. To each gallon of ripe fruit, add 1 coffee cup full of salt.
There aren't many things that you can point to and say that is uniquely American. Tabasco is something that probably you put on the list. The whole story is so unlikely. The fact that you have a 5-generation now family-run business, that just doesn't happen.
I understand you took an airboat ride. What was that like?
Need a seatbelt or anything?
No, if you hit something, you're going to go flying, whether you got a seatbelt or not.
It was a particularly cold day that day. It was kind of rainy, and you got a chance to see what this island looks like from the outside looking in. Spent a lot of time looking for gators. It was a little disconcerting sometimes when we're driving along, and all of a sudden I take a left turn into what I thought was going to be a wall, and we're just flying over this grassland for a while. We eventually got to this little trapper island. Just parked the airboat.
If you work on the leg, you can get some of that nice crab meat out.
Oh, yeah.
Bringing that leg out.
Sat down with Tony Simmons, who's the CEO of Tabasco, and listened to Cajun music and had this seafood broil that you got a sense that they do this all the time.
So I'm going to put some on some of these oysters and then get me a fork and go to work.
I might put a little too much. Think that'll be all right?
I think it'll be just fine.
Were you raised on spicy food?
Yeah, we had spicy food in the house all the time. But what was amazing to me is I was sitting there with Tony Simmons, who's the CEO of this company, and we are going to taste this mash that is 10 times roughly hotter than Tabasco. I thought, this should be easy for me.
Is that a good chunk?
Yeah, that's good. And just put it on the front of your tongue and then just let it sit there for a minute.
It was challenging. It was challenging even for me. Your diaphragm starts to seize up. You start to cough, you're sweating like crazy.
And then the heat kicks in.
Yeah, it does.
Your eyes start to water, yet the cameras are rolling, so you're trying to keep it together.
Sanjay, you are soaked, man. Is it the heat or the heat?
No, it's the heat. It's the heat.
I'm a sweaty correspondent here, dude.
And then when I saw Tony starting to cough, I thought, this is just the way it is.
Do you still cough too? Does it still get you?
I do. It gets you right in the back of your throat.
It does, yeah. Right.
What did you learn about their secret weapon in their lab there?
There is a guy named Charlie Chang, who they've hired, who is their food scientist.
If we want to create a flavor, we go to Charlie and tell him what we want, and then Charlie does some experiments, and then he'll bring it to me and to my cousin Harold, and we'll try it and tell him if we like it or if we don't like it.
So no room full of scientists, but instead a guy in his early 70s named Charlie Chang.
Yes.
This is one of the most recognized companies in the world, and yet there's this incredibly insular, small way of thinking about things that they take, again, a lot of pride in. Now, I've actually been at a restaurant since we started working on the story and kind of looked at the Tabasco, and it's inseparable, the story now, for me, of Tabasco and the taste and the product itself. I look at this and I can't help it. Hey, look on the back here, Avery Island, you know, and that's where every bottle is made. And, you know, I got young kids and they start asking me all these questions. What's Avery Island like? What do they do there? Do they all eat hot sauce? Yes, they eat it morning, noon, and night, you know. I don't know that something could taste better because you know the story of it, but it sure seems like it.